Thanks so much. Viewers, on India Upfront, the biggest story today, attacks on Hindus continue relentlessly. Just after banker Vivek Kumar was shot dead, 2 laborers were also gunned down. One didn't survive. The killings have sent alarm bells ringing, with the centre under pressure and many Hindus looking to leave the valley, triggering another exodus, or at least the fear of another exodus. The Union Home Minister Amit Shah, the Lieutenant Governor of the state, and the NSA, Mr. Ajit Doval, held a meeting to evolve a strategy to thwart Islamists from striking at will. On your screens are visuals of the dastardly attacks of the last few days, which have sent all Hindus in Kashmir into a tizzy. But while the meeting was going on, Hindus in Kashmir kept up the protest. As you know, viewers, they are demanding to be repatriated back to their home states, where they came from originally. Listen to this.
They are protesting here in Jammu because of surge in selective target killing related incidents in Kashmir Valley. They have fled over to this place, so they are demanding that they should be transferred to Jammu region. They should be relocated because they feel in such a situation it is not feasible for them to work, because already some of their colleagues have been targeted. They are holding picture of Rajni Pala, a teacher in one of the school in Kulgam area. She was inside the classroom in Gopalpura High School when terrorists barged inside. They fired on point blank range and she was killed.
हमारी डिमांड यही है कि हमें अपने एरिया में एडजस्ट किया जाए, और जब तक वहाँ हालात साजगार नहीं होते, जब तक हमारा कोई ऑर्डर नहीं निकलता है, हमें यहाँ ही कहीं पे एडजस्टमेंट कर से हमें काम लिया जाए, जिससे कि हम अपनी जॉब को कंटिन्यू रख सकें।
हम वापस नहीं जाएंगे। हमने डिमांड रखी है कि हमें अपने होम डिस्ट्रिक्ट दिया जाए। हम 10 डिस्ट्रिक्टों से, जम्मू की डिवीजन के 10 डिस्ट्रिक्टों से, अलग अलग डिस्ट्रिक्टों से बिलोंग करते हैं, और हमारा अप्लाई इजी से गवर्नमेंट इन डिस्ट्रिक्टों में, होम डिस्ट्रिक्टों में ये एडजस्ट भी कर सकता है।
सर, मुझे नहीं लगता कि कश्मीर में कोई भी ऐसी जगह रही है अब जो जिसको हम सेफ घोषित करेंगे। एक तहसील ऑफिस में जाकर एक भट्ट साहब को गोली मार दी जाती है, बैंक मैनेजर को कल ही आपने देखा होगा किस तरह से आकर शूट कर दिया गया। कौन सी प्लेस हमारे लिए सेफ है सर? हम अभी भी रेंटेड एकोमोडेशन में रह रहे हैं, हमें यहाँ सिक्योरिटी नहीं चाहिए सर, हमें अपने होम डिस्ट्रिक्ट में वापस भेज दिया जाए सर।
The family of Vivek Kumar made a fervent appeal for justice and called for punishment even as they grieved their immense loss.
मैंने कहता मेरा लाल का दुश्मन बैठे बटे खत्म कर दे सी मेरा बच्चे न रे। हाँ मैं आप कहो बेटा का दवा जद का मम्मी 14 महीनों उतरे आऊंगा, 10 दिन आगे 15 दिन आगे छुट्टी लेके आऊंगा। मम्मी 2 दिन पहली बात करी, मैंने कहता मेरा लाली चकड़ ले बात करे रे। ओ बचिया गदगड़े करा को मेरा लाल रे।
But at the centre, after the meet, highly placed sources told your channel that the centre had drawn up a comprehensive plan. Viewers, we can confirm with you that elaborate steps are being taken. That's what we are being told. Strict security for Kashmiris and non-Kashmiris will be provided. Increased intel and security, as well as, of course, coverage will be given. Those spreading terror will not be spared. An emphatic message has been sent out. Areas where attacks have been taking place, especially those where targeted killings have been taking place, they are going to be once again secured by beefing up security. And additional Central Armed Police Force will be deployed in the state. Anti-terrorism grid has been fully activated. The centre as of now will not consider demands to relocate Hindus or migrant labour from out of the state. Targeted killings to disturb peace in Kashmir. They believe that this is part of a massive agenda, an agenda to try and make the entire attempt to normalize Kashmir come a cropper. And the one way to do that, viewers, is to ensure that the backbone, the economic backbone of the state, which is the vast reserve of labor, exits the state. So this is a part of a calculated attempt to break the economic resurgence that is being attempted by targeting outsiders or non-locals, and viewers, to create an atmosphere where even tourists feel trepidatious about visiting Kashmir. Now, viewers, all of that is, of course, what transpired in this meeting. But that didn't stop the BJP and the Congress and other opposition parties from trading blame. Listen in, watch.
You should have taken, on the first death, this should have happened. You shouldn't wait for 18 deaths to call a meeting. That shows that somewhere you have not taken this issue very seriously, or you left it to local administration. My problem is, Kashmir is a sensitive issue. It's a complex issue. You can't win Kashmir on the basis of propaganda.
एक भी आतंकवादी, एक भी आतंकवादी बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। जिसके हाथ में हथियार हैं, जिसने भारत की नागरिकों पर हमला किया है, वो बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। उसे जल्द ही कब्र में पहुंचाएंगे। ये नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार है, ये बिरयानी नहीं खिलाती आतंकवादियों को, उन्हें कब्र में पहुंचाती है।
Well, you've obviously heard the outcomes, viewers, but the centre can't absolve itself of the responsibility of safeguarding the interests of Kashmiri Hindus and, in general, the security of the state. Accountability needs to be affixed. Heads need to roll. But the killings beyond the immediate do raise some larger questions. And these questions, viewers, have been accumulating over a period of time. For instance, are the killings part of an uncompromising Islamist ideology that wants to cleanse the valley of all minorities, including Hindus? Is the silence of prominent Muslim leaders or Muslim civil rights activists a sign of an unsaid endorsement? After all, Muslims around India expect Hindus to speak up vociferously to condemn hate crimes against Muslims. When they don't, the community accuses Hindus of displaying Islamophobia or sympathies. Our attempts that we hear from time to time to rationalize the killings of Hindus by drawing false equivalences, emboldening anti-Hindu hate. Let's put these questions to our panelists today. 3 debates with Salman, Khurshid. None of these gentlemen need an introduction. I want to first begin with you, Mr. Agnihotri. Your movie, The Kashmir Files, were based on a genocide that took place in the 90s, where you believe that a certain ideology was the reason behind what we saw. So I'm asking you, today, many people are drawing parallels with what happened in the 90s. Are the killings part of, therefore, an uncompromising Islamist outlook, an ideology that wants to cleanse the value of all minorities at a time when the government is committed to resettlement?
Thank you, Rahul, and I'm really glad that I'm talking to a gentleman like Salman Khurshid ji. See, this whole problem began in early 80s or mid-80s, I would say. One of the senior most journalists, one of the most respected journalists with credentials, who is also a very good friend of Mr. Khurshid, he was traveling with Rajiv Gandhi in an aircraft. And he pointed out to him that so many killings of Hindus are taking place and there is almost no administration. Why don't you interfere? And he said, but Abdullah Sahab is my friend. How can I interfere? He will feel bad. This is on records. And I'm not saying that. This is on records in books also. So it all began from taking this friendly approach towards people who were involved with terrorism. Whoever I spoke to, including lots of Kashmiri Muslim people, they were very unhappy that Yasin Malik was invited to Manmohan Singh's office. and they were shaking hands. They were very unhappy that a lot of people who are Congress leaders, they go to Hurriyat leaders' houses and appease them. I think this entire vote bank politics of Congress to appease Muslim vote bank in India and therefore keeping quiet on terrorism, I think that has damaged India beyond repair, and it's a very difficult task for anybody. It's like you burn a house and then you get few buckets and say, why don't you putting out the fire? I think that in Kashmir issue, Pakistan, a lot of international lobbies, a lot of terror organizations formed a nexus, and Congress gave them fuel, gave them ideological support. Even till date, I'm in UK, and the other day their leader Rahul Gandhi was in Cambridge, and all the places where I'm going, he has been there. Hindu community is very upset with him because he is drawing the line of India's enemies, and they are still giving ideological support to terror organizations. I want Mr. Khurshid to tell me why your party does not speak against terrorism. Why don't you call these people out? Why do you, first you call them out, first you say you are absolutely against Yasin Malik, JKLF and all these terror organizations. First you call out that the bank manager who was killed yesterday was killed because of Islamic terrorism. You call out that Rajiv Gandhi was a radical religious terrorism. You say that in so many words. Only after that one can have any kind of debate.
Mr. Khurshid, would you describe the spate of targeted killings of Hindus in the valley as an outcome of an uncompromising Islamist jihad being waged against a minority there just because of their identity? And it is led by the Maliks, the Burhanwanis, the Maliks who the Congress has also quoted quite evidently in the past, engaged in the past as stakeholders. Would you concede that point?
Well, let me just set the rules of the game straight first. I think it's important. Let me acknowledge that Vivek Ranjan Agnihotri has done what I believe is a far-reaching effort to speak the truth, and to the extent that he has done that, let me say categorically on behalf of the party, let me say it on behalf of everyone who has a concern about what is going on in Kashmir and what is happening in Kashmir. Let me say categorically that we see no reason to be even remotely empathetic or sympathetic to the heinous crimes that are being committed in whichever name it may be. Now, the fact if someone uses Islam to commit that crime does not make me or force me or persuade me to put up a position and a statement against Islam. Be very clear. I am against the person who misuses Islam. So be categorically clear, that's one thing. Secondly, to say that whatever happened because of Congress' soft ideology, I must say that for someone with the kind of foresight an artist and a filmmaker must have, he must be careful with what he says today, lest tomorrow the people he celebrates end up talking to somebody to put an end to the strife. We always talk to the enemy to put an end to the strife. The Americans talk to the Vietnamese and the Viet Cong. Everybody talks, and everyone is talking about setting a table so that Ukraine and Russia can speak. Now, let us not reduce things to a ridiculous level. But we may have made mistakes, and the mistakes are being made now. Now, to say that what is happening today is on the basis of an uncompromised Islamist strategy or an Islamist point of view, I reject completely. I don't care about what they label themselves as, but I do believe that Islam has no place in this, and if they are misusing Islam, they must be called out for that, and Mr. Agnihotri and I should both be calling them out rather than creating empathy or sympathy for them by taking divisive positions and by attacking Rahul Gandhi. I think this is not to reduce what is a very significant, important, grave challenge to India's sovereignty. Don't reduce this to the level of political, allegations against one person or another person. Let's keep this in a serious level, in a serious debate. I believe, let me just say this, I believe what is happening today is part of a strategy that is being used against the strategy that we in the government of the country today tried to use to sort out what we believe was an unending problem in Kashmir. They are using a strategy, the enemy is using a strategy, we use a strategy. Now, whether we have to rethink our strategy, because the enemy can't be persuaded by us to rethink the strategy, unless we are able to persuade the enemy by force, by persuasion, by anything else. But my request is, let's keep this at an intellectual level. Let us not bring it down to screaming and shouting about who's to blame and who's not to blame. India is important. India's sovereignty is important. Nobody else matters. Let's be very clear. Let's be very clear. Every single citizen who is loyal to India in Jammu and Kashmir must be protected, irrespective of whether they are Hindu, Muslim, Sikh or Christian.
Mr. Khurshid, while that point is well taken, there are a couple of things that I want to bring you back on. How do you persuade the enemy when they are given cover fire? You compliment Mr. Agnihotri for making a film that, or through his art, bringing out the truth, as you yourself have said, or at least an approximation of truth. But your own party men made it very political. Look at Mallikarjun Kharge, who's not an incidental leader in the Congress setup. He said the Kashmir Files is a one-sided movie and misleading youth and the country. Even our Prime Minister himself is promoting this film and is trying to polarize the society. You had the Kerala Congress that said it was a terrorist who targeted Pandits. In 17 years, 399 Kashmiri Pandits were killed in terrorist attacks. The number of Muslims killed by terrorists in the same period was 15,000. Even in 1948, communal riots after partition, over 1 lakh Kashmiri Muslims were killed in Jammu. But there is no retaliatory killings of Pandits. Pandits are victims of terrorism, just like Kashmiris. Again, I was talking about these false equivalences because when Muslims are lynched in mainland India, in the heart of India, the murderous action is described as a Hindutva killing, as Hindutva hate. Here we have a problem calling it out as Islamist hate. Can't understand. Ranjit Surdewaja said life will not be run by seeing or showing films and spreading hatred and division in society. So in effect, Mr. Agnihotri was called the part of a hate mob that would incite Muslims into hitting back. And that's precisely what is happening on the ground. And some people are saying this is exactly what is happening. So that's the rationalization.
Are you interested in my position?
Yeah,
are you interested in my position?
I was just framing the question by giving you some examples.
Say to you very categorically. Or are you? No. You don't frame questions. You don't frame questions by giving 500 statements about who said what. I cannot disagree with Mr. Kharge or anybody else if they come to a conclusion that this is exaggerated and one-sided. It may be exaggerated and one-sided, but I am at least responding to your core concern and Mr. Agnihotri's core concern. People will have an opinion. Somebody will like this film, somebody would not like this film. So put it aside. It doesn't matter. Some people will reject it, some people will accept it. But you've made a film, and I'm saying if you've made a film, please live up to the position of being an artist. Don't become a participant in a political slugfest.
But why?
But be that as it may, it's your choice. I can't force something on you.
Let me bring in Mr. Agnihotri on that. Be an artist.
I'm telling you.
Don't have a political point of view. You're being a politician.
One minute.
By taking on the Congress.
Don't bring in Mr. Agnihotri till I've finished. Let me finish. We are not asking anyone to do something or not do something. It is your conscience when people are killed in any of India. It's the conscience of the people who are in governing positions to say what they think is right. And similarly, what happens in Kashmir, our conscience and everyone's conscience requires us to respond. And I am saying to you categorically on behalf of my party that what is happening today in terms of the killings is awful, it is unacceptable, it is heinous, it is pathetic. I'm saying that to you. Now, nobody has said use these words for lynching that has happened in any part of India, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Our position, our conscience and our attitude is absolutely clear. Now you can tell Mr. Agnihotri to respond.
Well, I mean, people have condemned the lynchings outright. Even the Prime Minister called them the handiwork of goons that had sort of ascribed to themselves the definition of being Gaurakshaks. I think we remember that. Anyhow,
handiwork of goons, please, let's not get into the dictionary. Let's not get into the dictionary. You won't go very far. Be that as it may, let's hear Mr. Agnihotri. I want to hear what he has to say.
Yes, Mr. Agnihotri, be an artist. Don't get into the politics of it. You have no business of being in the politics of it. Don't make personal remarks, says Mr. Khurshid, against politicians.
Not. In fact, the only reason I agreed, I'm in Scotland right now. I have a very busy schedule. Was supposed to be at the Holocaust Museum. The Jew community has invited me, despite it being closed, because they saw the film and they thought they must have empathy for the pain of Kashmiri Hindus. And so, but I postponed it and I came only because Mr. Khurshid was coming here. I have always been a great admirer of his patience and the good man which he is. But the only thing is, you have been talking our, you didn't say I. Since you did not say about yourself, you were talking on behalf of your party. I think you must have read Mr. Khurshid. The biggest responsibility of an artist is to protect and defend his own art. When the leader of your party, who himself comes from a Kashmiri Pandit lineage, in fact, Jawaharlal Nehru's name was Jawaharlal Nehru, he started writing Pandit as an honor and as a matter of something to show off that he belonged to Kashmiri Pandit community. I have read passages from Indira Gandhi, who always said that her heart bleeds looking at the pain and agony of Kashmiri Pandits. There's a letter which she wrote to somebody. So he also comes from the same lineage. His father was assassinated, his grandmother was assassinated by terrorism. Despite that, he has been making fun of this film on international platforms. I didn't know about it. I got to know only when I reached Britain. A lot of people started asking me that why a Kashmiri Pandit president of a party which basically was funded by Motilal Nehru, who was a Kashmiri Pandit, today is standing on the side of the terrorists. So I am only here to defend my art. Second thing I want to say, my film was produced by a Muslim. One of the most critical scenes of my film has been written by a Kashmiri Muslim boy living in Kashmir Valley. Most of the actors are from Kashmir. My film has been line produced by Kashmiri Muslims, not Hindus. In my film, Hindu characters are being played by Muslim characters and Muslim characters are played by Hindus. You do not know what kind of a filmmaker I am. I was asked by the Kashmiri Pandit community to make a film on their plight. Now, why is your party officially calling it Islamophobic? Because in my film, I have not used the word Muslim even once. I have not used the word Pakistan, so that there is no hate towards Muslim and Pakistan, because Pakistan is a Muslim country. I have just spoken against terrorism, not even spoken, shown against terrorism. Why is your party and Mr. Rahul Gandhi assuming the film is Islamophobic? Do you guys, does Rahul Gandhi, does Sonia Gandhi, they equate terrorism with Islam? This is my pointed question to you. If it is not in your mind, you will never call this film Islamophobic, because the Jew community, the blacks, the Yazidis, the Afghani Muslims, they are not calling it Islamophobic. What is your special reason and logic? Please enlighten me. I want to understand as an artist, to satisfy my conscience. Why do you equate terrorism with Islam?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think that's a very, very creative and I think a very, very helpful question that you've asked. So since you asked me, you're saying constantly our and you're not saying I. Well, let me just use the word I. I clearly say that I have empathy for the suffering of the people who you have tried to portray in this movie to the best of your ability. Thank you very much. And I certainly have disgust for people who have perpetrated oppression on them. Let that be very clear. Now, you have not shown me, and nobody has shown me a categorical statement of any of my leaders that, other than disagreeing with the film, have actually said what you are saying that they have said. The clear position of my party and my leaders is that terrorism has nothing to do with religion. That's very clear. They say that terrorism has nothing to do with religion, despite the fact that terrorists use religion to hide behind, not just here in India, but elsewhere in the world as well. We know that for sure. And if in that context a statement is being said which you are reading as a statement of empathy or a statement of combining terrorism with religion, then I may just say to you that that's a mistake that you are making, and if you were to show me that statement, I will try to explain it to the best of my ability. But that is not the position my leaders hold. My leaders are completely, totally dedicated against any form of violence and terrorism, particularly of the kind that you have projected in your movie. And therefore, you are not on two different sides. But it's possible, despite that, there may be any number of reasons why some leaders disagree with the manner in which the message is presented. I've written a review of your film. I have said that some things in your film may not be true, but even if they are true, there might have been a better way of presenting them. But that's my opinion. That's my opinion. It's not to say that you are dishonest. Nobody is saying you are dishonest, but we are seeking in a very fractured, painful world where people have a lot to complain about each other. We are trying to heal these wounds, and I hope and I wish that you could have healed the wounds just as many other films that have been made on Kashmir and elsewhere have tried to heal the wounds. And if you think that you've tried to heal the wounds, well, sorry if I didn't get that message. I'll see the film again.
Mr. Khurshid, that's the reason why I went into some lengthy quotes trying to bring to you what was said, because I knew that you would say that no one actually said any of these things. So I just want you to go back over Mallikarjun Kharge's remark. The Kashmir Files is a one-sided movie and misleading youths of the country. Even our Prime Minister himself is promoting this film and is trying to polarize society by putting out this film. Randeep Surjewala said, and this is very clear, India is not a film but a reality. India will not be run by films but by government's policies and governance. Life will not be run by seeing or showing films and spreading hatred and division in society. Modi ji should tell us when our Kashmiri Pandits be rehabilitated and should give us a date. When Kashmiri Pandits were forced to flee under the shadow of terror and barbarism in 1990, what were the 85 BJP MPs doing then? So there are two allusions. Number one, that it was a divisive attempt.
Where is the word Islam? Sorry, where is the word Islamophobia used here for the film? Where?
Oh, a large number of
Islamophobia used here for the film. Okay, please show that.
A large number. Look, I wasn't. 1 minute. I just want to say that the idea that this was a divisive film was spread aggressively. I'll try to dig out that quote, but I do remember that on this show, one Congress spokesperson.
No problem. That's an opinion. That's an opinion.
But that's the problem. Now, that is where the problem is.
Have an opinion about a film. Some people say.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Agnihotri. Let me bring in Mr. Agnihotri. I don't want to be anyone's counsel here.
To agree with the film.
Okay, Mr. Agnihotri, are you satisfied with this response? Yes.
No, please do. Please do.
No, I'm very happy to talk to Mr. Mr. Khurshid because he listens, so that's a great thing. I wish Rahul Gandhi ji also listened to wise people like you. The thing is, you know that I'm a director, I can read faces, so the expression on your face is of utter helplessness, but I also feel helpless. I gave up my green card in US, came back.
No, please don't say that.
India.
Please don't say that. The expression is of helplessness. I am not helpless, Mr. Agnihotri. Let's be clear about the rules. You can't imprint something on me, but please say what you want to say.
Sir, listen to this. Listen to this. Who's Salman Nizami?
Sure. Listening.
Who's Salman Nizami?
He's not
Who
Rahul
is
Gandhi.
Salman Nizami? Salman Nizami is your leader.
He's not Rahul Gandhi. Salman Nizami is like Salman Khurshid. He's like Salman
you are a lawyer.
Khurshid.
Sir, you are a lawyer. You are a lawyer.
Please.
In court, you corroborate two facts and you say, therefore, this happened.
Yeah.
Listen to me. Salman Nizami calls Kashmir files Islamophobic and he hurls abuses at Vivek Agnihotri. Congress party's official handle retweets that. Hundreds of Congress top leaders, right from Mr. Surjewala, I don't know exactly, but I remember, and I have in front of me here, you can go and check, these people retweet and like it. It's like endorsing. Immediately after that, your leader, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, he immediately starts criticizing the film, he starts talking about the film, and he uses satire. Satire is the best way to create narrative. He starts using satire and sarcasm against the Prime Minister. He says, instead of promoting a fake film like the Kashmir files. Now the thing is, on what basis Rahul Gandhi says it's fake is based on the testimonials of 700 first-generation victims who were killed and cut into pieces. And you said you don't know whether the film is healing or not. B.K. Ganju's daughter wrote to us saying that for 32 years they never ever in their family discussed the horrendous death, the inhuman killing of her father. After 32 years after seeing this film, their family has started healing. Girija Tikku's family wrote to me saying that after 32 years, for the first time somebody even spoke about them, they have started healing. I have got hundreds of emails and letters, and I just want to share it with you so that you pass it on to your top leadership, and they are writing to me, do you realize when you call this film Islamophobic and when you call this film fake, what kind of disservice you are doing to humanity, how you are already hurt Kashmiri Pandit families. Do you realize that? Do you have any word to say sorry to these people for hurting them? On behalf of Congress, on behalf of late Shri Jawaharlal Nehru's great soul, who was a Kashmiri Pandit himself, can you say sorry to all Kashmiri Hindus who were killed by people shouting slogans like Ralev, Galev, Shalev, Hindu man, leave your women behind, and who today, where used to be 100% Hindu population, that great land of Shiva and Saraswati has almost no Hindus. Can you say sorry to them on behalf of your party? They will feel good. It's a message I am passing on. These are not my original thoughts.
Mr. Agnihotri? No. Have you finished? You still haven't shown me. You still haven't shown me any statement of Mr. Rahul Gandhi saying it's Islamophobic. Somebody said it's Islamophobic, somebody retweeted, etc. You're not going to hold Mr. Rahul Gandhi responsible for the tweet industry. Please. He has not used the word Islamophobic. If he uses the word exaggerated, fake, not acceptable, etc., you can't complain. Everybody has an opinion about every film. Not everybody likes every film. You know that. You people don't like each other's films quite often. And I'm grateful that you said, no, please listen, don't ask these side questions, please listen. I listened to you carefully, please listen. And you have, I believe, very graciously told us about the number of Muslims who were engaged in making of the film. And I must say that I acknowledge that this is an exercise that you did with an open mind and an inclusive exercise in which you got many people from all communities to participate to make the film. How much inputs they provided, whether they provided the right inputs or not, is not for me to tell because I don't know them personally. All I am saying is that you jump from here, and this is the problem with every artist who begins to jump. You jump from one person's statement and then imputed that statement to Mr. Rahul Gandhi. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. If you're asking me to apologize, then we have to sit down and do a whole day's program as to who must apologize to whom, where all we must apologize in this country. Every time we say, let's apologize to each other and let's join hands to find a solution to what is a terrible, cancerous problem for our land, people say, there you are, you're admitting your guilt, you're admitting your defeat. That is not the attitude in which we can come to any resolution. So I am saying, let's open our minds and reach out and do the real healing. If you have healed for somebody, let me congratulate you. If you have healed even for one person, let me congratulate you that you achieved something. But please go and achieve on a larger scale healing for everybody, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of where they are.
Okay, two words you've been stressing on: opinion and empathy. It's their opinion. It's their opinion. Well, sir, Holocaust deniers also had an opinion. So you have a situation where if the Congress party's official handle endorses...
Why are you bringing Holocaust into this?
Because in 1990 we witnessed a Holocaust.
Endorses what?
We witnessed a Holocaust.
Endorses what?
Well, I mean, let me finish, sir. Don't pounce on me.
I'm sorry.
I never pounced on you, sir. Okay, we can't have a conversation. You're pouncing on me.
I am not.
You're trying to intimidate me.
I'm not here. I'm not here.
You're not letting me speak.
I'm not here to talk about the Holocaust.
I am here to talk about the 1990 Holocaust.
You can't do this. You can't change the goalpost.
We are talking about the 1990 Holocaust, sir.
You put an end to this program now.
Sir, we are talking
about the Holocaust.
Why are you losing your shirt?
For Holocaust? No. I am sorry. I am afraid. I will not answer. Not the Holocaust. I am sorry. Please don't bring the Holocaust into this. I will not bring Gujarat into it. Let not bring something else into it.
Why?
Let's talk about
Why can't we talk about 1990?
Let's talk about Kashmir.
No, why can't we are talking about Kashmir and we are talking about the Holocaust in 1990.
If you change the goalpost,
how am I changing the goalpost?
If you change the goalpost,
I began this show.
Please understand. Okay. You cannot push people.
What's gone wrong with you?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Khurshid, calm down.
You must accept your rules by which the guest comes to you. Don't change the goalpost. I am sorry.
Okay, but I don't know what's got into you. All I was saying is that people who deny...
I think
nothing has got into me. Nothing has got into me. I'm just telling you. Talk to me about
you
what you
used the word
me for. Don't talk to me about something else.
You use the word empathy. You use the word empathy. Many people will think, sir, that you're paying lip service to the term.
Yes.
Empathy is acknowledging that a genocide happened.
That's your opinion.
Let me finish.
That's your opinion.
Let me finish, sir. Why aren't you letting me finish?
I'm not here to satisfy you.
What have we set off? I can't ask you a question
because you turn everything around. I'm sorry.
I'm not. You use these words.
Listen, this is my last warning. If you don't want a conversation, I walk out. If you don't want a conversation, I walk out. Simple.
But Mr. Khurshid, if you're not going to allow me to frame the questions on the words that you yourself have used, then how can we have a conversation? I don't understand what rules these are.
No.
Anyhow,
Can I
ask me the question. Please understand.
Khurshid साहब मैं बताऊं प्रॉब्लम क्या है. मैं आपको सच्ची बात बताता हूं. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to tell you this. That the people from your party have been openly behaving like genocide deniers. They are denying there was a genocide. It's not a good thing. Number one, as a vice person, senior most leader, if you can just put some sense in their mind and say, okay, you don't acknowledge it, but don't be a genocide denier. Second problem with your party is that they are using this film as a collateral damage for their political battles, which is not a good thing. I always ask your party people, would you ever do that with Schindler's List? They will never do that. And good news is, yesterday a member of Parliament, of Scottish Parliament, in one of my events, after seeing that, he said that he is going to put a motion in Scottish Parliament. It's on record. The video will be out in next 1 hour. He said he's going to put a motion so that Scottish Parliament acknowledges it as a genocide. Your party, which belongs to Kashmiri Pandits, Pandit Nehru, Motilal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, would you pass a motion in Parliament saying that it was a genocide? If no, can you on TV say, yes, indeed, it was a genocide of Kashmiri Pandits? I have a very pointed question. Was it a genocide?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah, can I answer that? Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Can I answer that? I have said to you already that this is a great tragedy. It's a great tragedy. And it's a painful tragedy. And I've also said to you that your attempt to express the truth about this tragedy is something as an artist you are entitled to do. But not everybody will agree with your assessment, everybody will agree with your treatment. Be that as it may, you are now saying that I should say what one MP in the Scottish Parliament is saying. Now, that's not for me to say here. You are asking me to convey a message to my party. I will happily convey a message to my party. My only difference with you today has been that you used the artist or the filmmaker's technique by saying, Mr. Khurshid, your face looks helpless. Now, please don't do these little tricks with me. My face doesn't look helpless. I don't want to say, do, or act in a manner that would be feeding what we don't want fed, which is a difference of opinion that goes down to the ground and divides our people. You have said something and done something. I am saying we shouldn't be banning it. I am saying we shouldn't be celebrating it. We should just look at it as a piece of art, agree and disagree. But at the end of the day, the takeaway should be, let's get our country together again. Please, let's get our country together again. That's all that I can say authoritatively. You want me to take a message to my
viewers? Reconciliation can happen. No, 1 second. Reconciliation can happen when we accept the truth up front. Mr. Kharge, in his own comments, said the Kashmir Files is a one-sided movie and misleading the youth of the country. Lies mislead, viewers. What is unstated is that lies mislead. If you have the truth, you can't be misled. You're informed. Point one. Point two, viewers. If it is a one-sided narrative, why shouldn't it be? When have the victims in this country of that genocide and that Holocaust ever had their say? Which court has given them time? We've heard the view from Mr. Khurshid. He talked about empathy. Empathy is when you give justice, when you create the circumstances for providing justice. Did anyone for those crimes be tried? The Sikhs faced the same problem for a long time. And a large number of people associated with the Congress had blood on their hands. We had the Batla House encounter. That was brushed away. So viewers, denials come in many shades.
Listen, I'm sorry.
And the problem is,
you're going back again. I am sorry you talk about Kashmir. You talk about Kashmir or you talk about Batla House.
I'm talking about Kashmir. I'm talking about Kashmir.
But
when you talk about empathy, when you have to, fair enough.
If you talk about empathy, please talk about Gujarat.
When you have to
talk about Gujarat.
People have gone to jail for Gujarat. People have gone to jail. There were trials that were held. The Prime Minister, who's the current Prime Minister, was questioned. Amit Shah was questioned.
Who's gone to jail and what happened?
Several of them have gone to jail. There have been so many convictions. Name me one person who's gone to jail for the Holocaust in Kashmir, sir.
Let
Name me one person.
Vivek Agnihotri. I can speak to Vivek Agnihotri.
No, you see,
I can't speak to you.
You see, viewers,
I can't speak to you, but
I'm closing this argument. I'm closing this debate.
Isn't that a tragedy?
I am closing this debate.
I'm sorry, you won't get past me. I'm sorry, you won't get past me.
Sir, I'm not standing in your way. I rest my case.
You are wasting his time.
I rest my case, sir.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Let Vivek Agnihotri talk to me. You're not going to get past me. I'm sorry, you're not going to get past me. This is not the way to bully your guests who come in to speak about something serious. You are not serious about anything that's happening in this country. You only want to play games, and I'm not willing to play games with you.
Well,
absolutely
sir,
clear.
if suggesting that empathy means that you give... No, one second. If empathy means... No, 1 second. If empathy means not securing justice for someone, then I'm playing games, and I humbly admit to my fault. It's okay. Yes, Mr. Agnihotri, quick comments and I'll shut the debate.
I have to go to Holocaust Museum. They have called me to pay homage and tribute to all the victims of Kashmir genocide. So I have to read. A lot of people are waiting. I just want to have one closing remark, and I am saying it from the bottom of my heart what my conscience tells me. Both my parents were freedom fighters. Okay, and so please trust me, and my father was a Gandhian, and Vidyacharan Shukla was my uncle. The entire Congress leadership was killed by Naxals in Chhattisgarh. From your party, not BJP, not Communist, no other party. Your entire leadership, you remember Mr. Khurshid was killed by Naxals? You remember? Yeah. Right? Yeah, when I see, so Vidyacharan Shukla, Shamacharan Shukla, Ravi Shankar Shukla, they were all my family. They are still my family. The entire family was killed by Naxals. When I see young Rahul Gandhi to go and stand with the Naxal supporting students, Tukde gang, give them ideological, emotional support, to stand with all those, sir, please trust me, there are pictures, there are photographs. He went there, he went to JNU, supported them. Rahul Gandhi is always found standing with the enemies of India. Slowly your party has started sounding as if you are absolutely anti-Hindu. And when I came to UK, people feel your party is now becoming anti-India. Please don't give me any explanation. Sir, I'm requesting it. Don't give me any answer. Just pass on this message to the great grandson of the great Kashmiri Pandit Shri Jawaharlal Nehru, so that he understands that he should not stand with anybody who picks up guns, violence and terrorizes a community which is a minority in Kashmir. Thank you. I have to go, Rahul. Please excuse me.
Well, I'm not going to come in anyone's way. I'll close this debate. We leave it at that.
You go. See, you've said something. I have to say something as well. Or otherwise, do you have rules by which...
No, say, finish, sir. Finish.
I'll wait.
Pass judgment on my party. No, what do you mean finish? What do you finish? You let somebody say something and you don't let me answer. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Please take it that I'll never come back to your program if this is the manner in which you will function. I'll never come back. You've made a whole statement has been made at the end of the program and you haven't allowed me to reply.
You said you wanted to hear from Mr. Agnihotri.
I have the social media. I'm going to
No, please go ahead. Finish. We haven't finished. Finish. Make your response, sir.
Mr. Agnihotri to pass judgment. So please take my response.
I am.
My response is that Mr. Agnihotri, it's your point of view. I'm giving you my response. This may be Mr. Agnihotri's point of view. This is not a point of view to which which I can accept. What happened because of the attacks of the extremists in the state in which they destroyed many of our leaders has nothing to do with students who have an ideology in JNU or any other college. Now,
no, sir, you are wrong. You are no. Sir, they celebrated the killing of 76 CRPF jawans. Sir, please, the same students celebrated the killing of 76.
I'm sorry.
Why are you defending these students?
Take it from me. If anybody celebrated the death of our leaders, at the hand of extremists, I am saying to you, they are betrayers of this land and they are betrayers of humanity. I am saying
thank you. So which means Rahul Gandhi is a betrayer
and leave that as a last impression. I'm sorry, but that has to be taken not with a pinch of salt, but with a huge amount of salt.
Okay, I'll close it, viewers. I'll close it here. You've heard two sides. I'll leave it for you to judge.